And some business stories in a bid to boost economic cooperation and drive intra-African trade within the continent. Experts are calling for strategic collaboration and concerted efforts to overcome barriers impeding trade activities among African nations. The expert made this call on the sidelines of the Angola-Nigeria Business Council meeting, which held recently in Lagos. According to them, this call underscores the potential for significant economic growth and development through enhanced intra-African trade.
How does Africa trade with Africa? Simple. We look at Nigeria and Ghana for an example, and we say, okay, Ghana, what are you importing from the rest of the world that we, Nigeria, can supply you? So we take their figures, we take what they're doing, and we bring it back to us, and we wrap up production and productivity in those sectors, and then we export, we drive it into Ghana. We're not going by ship, we're just driving those products into Ghana. So that's the way to look at it for every country.
One of the major challenges is this coastal ship movement of goods from one country to another. And then this is one of the challenges we are trying to really face, and then to try as much as possible to resolve. So both councils, DRC, Nigeria Business Council, and also Angola, Nigeria Business, we are really trying to look into this challenge and make sure that we form a formidable company that can really solve this problem. Another major challenge has to do with free movement of investors.
Meanwhile, the federal government has been actively pursuing economic reforms aimed at improving the business environment, fostering sustainable growth. Notable among them are the removal of subsidy, foreign exchange liberalization, tax harmonization, amongst others. President of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, was on our flagship business program, Business Nigeria, earlier today. He speaks on the effects of some of these policies instituted by government.
Each of the policy reforms have their impact, whether it's the removal of fuel subsidy, the conversions of the foreign currency, and then specific removals of various charges like or removal of subsidies in areas like power that we are beginning to see. Across the board, the impact is usually to increase the cost of doing business, whether it is the PMS, the petrol that was used by the drivers and the vehicles that all our businesses use, or the generators that are also used by some of the companies and are fueled by petrol. Across the board, the intention is understood. We know that it will take some time for the benefits to start to flow in. We are beginning to see the benefits in the foreign exchange markets. We are beginning to see the benefits in the public transportation space, but we are beginning to see the benefits of those policy reforms. It's early days in terms of the benefits. We all expected that it would take about 1 year, between 9 months or 1 year, for us to see those benefits.
Now to the oil and gas industry, where efforts to promote investments have been driven by the need to address the country's revenue crisis and stabilize the economy. Again, earlier today, partner energy and chemicals leader at Deloitte Africa, Mr. Olumide Eson, highlights the potential for both foreign and local investors in the oil and gas industry.
This is trying to address the end-to-end problem of the industry. One is the cost issue, which we know partly had to do with things like insecurity. Government is working on that, but also had to do with the way we contract in Nigeria, including the NPCL model, but also the MCDMB. And this is what is being tackled already by government. On the other hand, so say, well, if we still have inadequacies, systemic issues to deal with, yeah, maybe we can compensate for that by way of fiscal incentives, by way of gas tax credits, by way of gas tax allowances. And what that does essentially is to say, well, look, when you run the numbers, country A, country B, country C, and you put Nigeria there, if the returns in Nigeria is better, investors will come to Nigeria. So I believe this will yield the result. Everybody is now looking up to government for implementation. Okay, I believe that this will be implemented to later. And I know government has said that they are committed to this, and we want to see it happen. This way, we can earn, we're producing maybe about 1.6 million barrels now. But if you look at what we can do also from a gas perspective, to expand the scope for gas, we would earn a lot more money, and we will not just rely on, for example, LNG alone, but we have several other floating LNG, several other midstream companies, pipelines companies, that are able to bring resources into Nigeria.
Global shares were mixed today ahead of this week's U.S. inflation figures and European Central Bank's meeting, while industrial metal prices extended recent gains on expectations of a worldwide manufacturing rebound. The pan-European stock 600 index fell 0.1% in early trade, while features on Wall Street were muted. Expectations for U.S. rate cuts have been receding this year on the back of robust economic data and sticky inflation readings. German's 10-year bond yields dipped to 2.41% after touching a 3-week high of 2.45% the day before, while the euro held firm at $1.08. MSCI's broadest index of Asian Pacific shares outside of Japan increased 0.6%, while Japan's Nikkei rose 1.1%. Electric car manufacturer Tesla has agreed to settle a lawsuit over a crash in 2018, which killed Apple engineer Walter Huang after his Model X operating on autopilot collided with a highway barrier. The lawsuit, instituted by Huang's family, was scheduled to begin in California Supreme Court this week. If the trial had gone ahead, it would have brought increased scrutiny of the firm's Autopilot and Full Self-Driving technology. The terms of the settlement were not disclosed, and reports have said the deal still needs to be approved by a judge. Tesla is yet to respond to requests for comment. The giant electric vehicle maker faces a series of lawsuits over crashes related to alleged use of its driver assisting technology. And crude oil prices surge as portfolio investors are increasingly bullish about oil as Saudi Arabia and its OPEC allies restrict production in the face of rising demand and shadow war between Israel and Iran spills into the open. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose to sell at $86.65 with a surge of 0.25%. Brent also experienced an upward review of 0.28% to sell at $90.63. Bonnie Light recorded a downward price margin of 1.66%, selling at $92.38 per barrel. And for the OPEC basket, dealers are offering $91.12 with an uptick of 1.72%.